Welcome in everybody to the TK Pod. My name is Tyler Kluver. I was once a Division I football player. I am now a podcaster, fitness coach, and CrossFit athlete, doing all of that as a husband and father of two. This show is an audio journal, a spot for me to vent or ramble about thoughts I have relating to fitness and health, my personal competitive aspirations, business, entrepreneurship, and more. I hope that each show can provide one small bit of value for you, the listener. Regardless, I'm glad you're here. Let's have a day. Let's go. Well, folks, it's unofficial, but it appears as though we have done it. Monster Games, which is what this podcast, welcome into the podcast, by the way, TK Pod number 239. Crazy that we've almost done 250 of these, and this is the most casual side project, just throwaway half hour of my week. But I think it speaks to consistency and sort of one of the fabrics of who I am a little bit. Proud that we're almost at 250. And yeah, proud that we've unofficially, at this point, the leaderboard went live last night. I'll take you through the timeline a little bit. Unofficially qualified for the elite division at the First Form Monster Games in Kansas City later this year. And I will preface this with, if anybody randomly finds this from that's also interested in the Monster Games, maybe you qualified for the Monster Games and you took to YouTube to search videos of other qualifier videos, or somehow you came across this. I understand completely that the Monster Games in Kansas City is not the CrossFit Games by any means. I have no delusions here. However, this does mark a pretty significant accomplishment in my own personal journey within the realm of CrossFit that has spanned, at this point, and I almost have it to the date. In fact, this could be the inception date of when I found CrossFit, the first time I ever heard of CrossFit. May 11th, 2012. And again, I know that this isn't the CrossFit Games. I know that everybody who qualified for the elite division with me, which very cool. There's a lot of people locally here from the gym that I occasionally attend, from another kind of friend gym in the area. I mean, there's going to be like 20 plus people who qualified across a myriad of divisions down there in Kansas City. All these two of the boys, two of the squad, Jay and Ty, both qualified top 20 in the elite as well. Jay, I qualified 16th. Didn't say that yet, but I'm currently in 16th place. Jay qualified 13th. Ty qualified 19th. So we're all right there. But even up at the top, the top couple dudes, the quality of this qualifier, the 30 dudes who are going to be at, and who knows who accepts, but who will be at the championship later this summer. They're not games quality. There's a couple athletes who are that are currently in-person semifinal fit. And I would consider there is the elite of the elite, and those are like the top. You could break it down into some real levels, but if you're really just going to go broad and basic, there's the elite of the elite, like the top 20 or 30 dudes on earth who are professionals. do this for a living. They make a living because they have sponsors in the fitness space, because they win competition money every year. That's the elite of the elite. 1% of the 1% of the 1%. The next level down, I would call like your um that there's probably even more dudes in this second tier that pretty much do this as like a semi-pro. I would you could call it a semi-pro level. And that is guys who are on the cusp of making the CrossFit Games. They can be really, really competitive in out of season competitions like this one specifically if they want to be, like compete for the podium, maybe win the thing. And within the context of the CrossFit season, they are semifinal athletes, like far and away, 100% they're semifinal athletes. Not online semifinal, which is a little bit watered down. Last year, I think, how many? I don't know, 1,200 people made the online semifinal, which is still very good, still literally the 1%. But this year it'll be a little bit more watered down. I think it's 2,000 people. But there's a semi-pro level of athletes who are not the top 30, but they're maybe 31 through 200-ish in the sport on the worldwide scale. There's a couple dudes from that subsect of competition that are gonna be there. They got first, second, third, and fourth. Basically took the top 4 or 5 spots of this qualifier, and if they go in late July, they'll be the guys who are kind of in the hunt for winning this thing. And then there's I don't know, you could call it maybe a 5X group of people across the world where I fall into, which is sort of like category 3, which is very, very serious competitor, like wakes up, trains, sometimes like still at some points are doing 2-a-days, your 10 plus hours a week of CrossFit training. Still very committed to trying to place as high as they can on the leaderboard, but they're not semi-pro. They have jobs, they have families. Um, it's not their sole focus. And that's sort of where I fall. And there's a lot of those kind of dudes in this. So that's your 4-minute rundown of sort of how this thing breaks out. But why is that important? Um, I'm old. I'm old. This will be I've never actually done. This is a fun fact. As much as I talk about competitive CrossFit on here and all of my training aspirations and stuff. Sorry for the yawn. Um, I've only ever done, let's see, one, two. I've only ever done 4 CrossFit competitions, and 3 of them have been a partner competition. I guess that's not true. Five CrossFit competitions. 3 of them have literally been local, like here in town within the 5-mile radius, like they're local in town competitions. Um, and then the other 2 were last year around this time, Fittest to the Coast in Carolina and then Wadapalooza on a 3-person team. All of them very successful. Never been outside the top 10 in any competition. I've won 2 of the local ones. I won. My partner and I won. The other one I got second. Wadapalooza, we got 7th. And then Fittest to the Coast, my partner and I got 10th. So, I've only done 5 comps over the course of being in CrossFit again since the first time I ever found a CrossFit video was 13 years ago. Actually, coming up on 14 years ago, May 11th, 2012. I've never done an individual competition. And yet that has always been the goal. Almost immediately when I found this video, Dan Bailey sets world record time. World record Diane time. And this is nostalgic AF for those that have been around the CrossFit game for a while. This is the first video I ever saw of CrossFit. This is my first exposure. Was the 2012 regionals. This video posted on May 11th, 2012. Young Tyler would have been in his spring semester of his junior year of high school. So, I wasn't even committed to college at this point. I didn't know where I was going to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do in college or what I wanted to study. And I found this and it pretty much sparked it was the impetus of now my biggest hobby in my life for the last 14 years. And that video is what did it. Very quickly after this, probably for the next, I don't know how many hours, um, I watched CrossFit videos, CrossFit regional videos from 2011 and 2012, and was just fully immersed. And I immediately wanted to be on that level. I thought, wow, maybe someday I could go and be a regionals competitor once I figured out that there was an open and then a regionals and all that stuff. But to this day, all the way to 2026, and in the year where I will turn 32, I have never been good enough. You could argue that last year in 25 we actually broke through, but I've never been good enough to make it to that regional level. And in a way, last year's online semifinal making the top 1% and finishing like 800th in the world, slash this year choosing this off-season competition, which is a regional level-ish competition, and qualifying for the top division in 16th place, I can finally say for the first time that I will be at that level of competition in the top division in the individual field. And it only took me 14 years. Now, in reality, I was a meathead, traditional kind of gym goer bro in high school, chest and tries, back and buys, leg day, all that stuff. Found CrossFit and started to use that as the conditioning piece because I didn't like running or doing conditioning. So I thought that using weights for conditioning was cool. I think that was the appeal originally. And so I worked in Diane, I worked in Grace and Jackie at the YMCA in Marshalltown, Iowa. My brothers and I would set up, we'd have to walk all over the different floors and the hallways of the YMCA to get to the place where we could do a wall ball and then go back to the rower and then go back to the pull-ups. Good memories. And then we went off to college and I played college football and that was its own all in 100% of the time training focus of like football training. And that's different. College strength conditioning. A little bit of GPP, a little bit a taste of circuits and CrossFit-ish stuff, but very sport specific training there, which prepared me well and helped me dabble in my very limited free time with extra exercise. During college, I did the open several times and I was able to be like college athlete good at CrossFit. I could walk into most CrossFit gyms on a spring break or back where my parents moved to in Ankeny. I could walk into a gym and sign up for the open and do the open workouts amongst the regular population. And I had just enough conditioning, just enough skill, and plenty of strength to kind of outperform most people. But just barely. And then 2018 rolls around. That's the year that my football career ends. I have a knee injury, a torn patellar at the time. I get that fixed that fall. I'm not really recovered until kind of the turn of the year, January, February 2019. So it's now been almost 7 years since I found CrossFit, and I still haven't even trained CrossFit full time for more than, a workout at a time or maybe a week at a time. um, start working in a CrossFit gym that kind of that 2018, late 2018, 2019. And I worked there until um, that summer. Yeah, I worked there till that summer. Basically 1 year in the CrossFit gym and was working out, was doing CrossFit, but was just doing, your 45 minutes to an hour a day. And that was it. Just kind of just dipping my toe in. And by this time in 2019, I turned 24 years old that year. I'm kind of behind the 8 ball as far as like, hey, if you're going to start competitive training, you should probably get into it. You know, I do that. I'm trying to figure out life. I'm trying to figure out jobs, how to make money, my schedule. I continue to accumulate equipment in the garage. I kind of just do your 1 hour a day of CrossFit programming, hopping around to different competitive programs that look fun, but no real training focus, not signing up for any competitions, doing the open every year, getting better a little bit, but just kind of figuring it out on my own for like 3 years. And then in late 2022, about 3.5 years ago, I decided I'm actually I'm gonna make a run at this. I'm 27 at the time, I think, 27 or 28. I'm already what would be considered like the prime year if I was gonna be, trying to be the best in the world. But let's start a competitive, uh, career right now. And over the last 3.5 years, I actually started to hone in and focus a little bit. And every single year, it's gotten more and more like, wow, I was missing this. I didn't understand this. I should have been doing this. Which lands us here finally today, where for about the last year and a half to 2 years, I've felt actually competitive in CrossFit. I'm I can place top 1% in the open, even though the open isn't a good setup for me. Um, on a I get I personally do even better in an in-person competition, which makes me excited for this one later, 5 months from now. And I can go and compete well in quarterfinals. I'm one of the top 500 ish or 1,000 ish CrossFitters in the world. And it's been a long time coming because going all the way back to 2013, 2014, 2015, the heyday of CrossFit. Rich Froning is winning the CrossFit Games. It shifts into the Matt Fraser era. I so badly wanted to be a regional competitor. I wanted to go to the North Central Regional so bad. And I was never good enough and just didn't have my life just wasn't set up to focus on that and try and do it. And then regionals went away and they brought in quarterfinals and most of the things went online. And I haven't been able to really go and compete as an individual in a really competitive competitive field at a good big put on event until now. And I don't know with 2 kids and getting older, we're fucking I don't know what the qualification is. I'll be 32 this year. We're about 3, 4 years away from being a master. We're just hitting our stride and we're almost to masters. I don't know what the opportunities look like anymore. Like this one competition is really the only sort of time I can carve out to be like, yeah, we'll spend an entire 4-day weekend down in Kansas City so I can exercise against people. But it's significant, man. It feels really good. And the fire is absolutely lit because I now feel the motivation to, of course, I mean, shit, I think the CrossFit Open starts next week. Yeah, I think the first week of the Open is next Thursday. So we'll have to get into that. But and that will be a focus. We're going to train through that but the primary focus is I'm going to go, we qualified 16th here. If I don't have a camera malfunction that we talked about last week, I end up qualifying and like tied for 11th. The point spread was that small. And then even all the way up to 5th, only a couple points, a couple seconds here and there separated 5th through 15th really. on a lot of these workouts. So as far as like competition level, I'm right there with all but four of these dudes. So, I pulled the laptop up last night. Some of these competitions, their leaderboard, they don't push it live until the day after. It takes a while. I got on the Instagram and saw that their last post said, "Hey, scoreboard goes live at 8 p.m. tonight when the scores are due." Hop on there, pull up the leaderboard, start scrolling. I was nervous, man, and to see my name on there under the cut line was great. And it's again, it sparked that fire that now for 5 months I feel purpose in training. And this is why I do it. I now have something to attack. And quite honestly, if I get the right plan in place here and really lock in motivation wise, I'm talking nutrition, sleep, training. I'm gonna make a push for this thing. Because again, I don't know how many of these opportunities I'll get, and I'm only getting older. But I'm gonna make a push for this thing and try and place as high as I possibly can. And where I place in the qualifier, I think the immediate goal is to be in that final heat. To be because I'm assuming that they'll run heats of 10, 3 heats of 10 for the 30 people. Um, Push early to be in that final heat so that I can be with the top dogs, be pushed and pulled by those top guys. And being in that final heat will make it feel very, I mean, to be honest, very worth it, but also kind of bring out the best in me. And again, I'm a game day sort of in comp kind of guy. Those kinds of workouts, which I will be head down studying the last 3 to 5 years of this competition and what kind of workouts they program, and running all those workouts over the next 5 months. That sort of level and style of programming is what suits me. So I feel confident that I can push top 10 and we're gonna see how far I can land up that leaderboard. I'm excited to do it. Again, I was 16th. I'm not gonna go over the details because they're boring, but I was pretty consistent. Outside of the ring muscle up and double under workout, which I know and admit that are my 2 biggest weaknesses, and they put them together in the same workout. I got 33rd. I think there was about 90 dudes that signed up for this qualifier. I got 33rd in that workout. Otherwise, I had a 10th, 2 15ths, and 2 19ths. One of those 15th should have been the snatch that the camera didn't record on. And if it would have recorded that weight, it would have been a 4th place in the snatch. So we feel very good about that. And I feel good about those placings in general. It landed me in a tie for 15th, so I think I got 16th just because the guy above me had a singular higher score, a top 10 somewhere. And again, very cool to have Jay and Ty, who I train with on occasion, and are kind of part of the training squad to be right there in the qualifier too. Uh, Gonna have to learn how to swim because they do swimming events at Monster Games, so that'll be a twist that we'll talk about. Um, but it's head down, and we're gonna training gets a little bit more serious now because we did this thing, and we don't want to waste it. And that's it. I'm sure you guys are super excited because now the next 5 months, the majority of these podcasts are going to have some sort of update on he's training for his competition. But like I said, open. Let me check that just live on air here, quick. CrossFit Open 2026. I'm already registered. I registered weeks ago just to get it done. Yeah, CrossFit Open starts next Thursday. So next weekend, we'll have to hit that first workout. And that goes for 3 weeks. I think there's a week off. And then what would then be the 5th week after the open starts, the quarterfinals run. And then top 2,000 out of there go to online semifinals. If you're high enough, you get invited to an in-person semifinal. And semifinals are another month or 2 after that, month after that. So we're full in the season now. Hay is not all the way in the barn. We've got 5 months to pack more and more hay into that barn, especially for the monster games. But the open and quarters are here. So we'll keep you updated. We'll keep going hard on this training, and we're just trying to be a beast. We're just trying to be a weapon out here. That's it. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. Well, there is a lot more stuff to talk about as far as the business side of things that I've got going on and some other stuff, but this consumed me over the last 2 weeks, both physical and mental energy. So I'm glad it's over, uh, and we're excited for the opportunity. We'll talk next week.